All right, okay. So, yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much. So, hey everyone. Nice to have you all here. Nice that you're giving the time to talk about Apple Search Ads and how you can basically unlock your full potential for user acquisition. I'm pretty much sure that some of you out here might have utilized Apple Search Ads before and probably gave up on it at some point because it was a bit too expensive. But we have a couple of things that we want to talk about today that we're going to be going over to ideally decrease your CPIs and try to get you the most quality users as much as possible. Also talk about the new ad placements that will be coming out. So I do know that some of you might know there are two new ad placements that will be coming out specifically on the Today tab, and you might also like side. So we're going to be going over that and discussing about that as well. So if you can switch over, Eugene, thank you very much. So a little bit about the company. Basically what we do is we provide tools for your user acquisition teams or small indie developers to be able to provide search volume information, keywords that you're going to be able to utilize, anything Apple searches related, anything ASO related, anything ad creative related. We are there and we are able to do it for you. So since Eugene is not here right now, let me just switch over the page for him. So just a few clients that we work with across the board globally. So what we're going to be talking about is basically all of the areas, so to speak, that are significantly new. They're currently live or are going to be coming live. So like I said, the Today tab you might also like, that's not live yet. But we have two new things that happened. So one of the things was the search tab campaigns. The pricing model was based on CPM, now it's CPT, which resulted in a pretty decent decrease in costs, overall speaking. I'm going to be sharing a few tactics and tips there, how to utilize that field as effectively as possible. And the second one that is also live is custom product pages specifically, which basically we can also call custom product pages, like the ad variation side, which allows you to bring up your ad group messaging a little bit more accurately, a little bit more correctly, and match your creatives to the user base that you want to reach. All right, so just a few of the areas that you're going to be able to see. So on the search tab side, this is basically what you're seeing it. It's showing up under the suggested side. Of course, it needs to be applicable for any country that has Apple searches available. Unfortunately, you don't have that in Turkey, so we're not going to be able to utilize it here. But there's also different variations like custom product pages that you're going to be able to see, that you're going to be able to bring up different screenshots for different ad groups and different kind of searches. So if we can move over, Eugene, thank you very much. All right, so just a little bit of information here. So as Apple reports, 70% of App Store visitors use search to find their app, right? And about 65% of all of the downloads are coming through search. So once that happens, we are able to see a relatively, little bit over 50% of a conversion rate for the people who are coming in through search. Reason being why is that people are searching for certain specific terms, so they have a high intent of downloading an app that is going to be related to this, resulting in quite a significant higher conversion rate that you would be normally expecting. So if you can switch over the slide, please, Eugene. Thank you. All right, so I brought something with me today that I think is going to be useful for you. These are the most recent information from January to September, globally speaking. Here's what you're going to be able to see for the gaming category, the benchmarks that we have over here. Basically, average tap-through rates, the conversion rates that you're going to be able to see, the cost per taps, and the cost per acquisitions. One of the things that I'm pretty much sure that many of you might be thinking right now is, 2.83 CPA is quite very high. I'm not going to be really able to afford that. I'm just reliant on ads to monetize my app. But of course, there's like different categories, subcategories in here, which I didn't leave you stranded. So if you could switch over, please. We have the subcategories as well. If you want to, take a picture here and basically have it just for your reference. We have all of the subcategories available. Basically, what we are seeing is, with new ad placements coming out and new areas that we're going to be able to utilize for the ad specifically, we're seeing a decrease in the overall CPA cost for Apple search ads. Reason being why, it's a very limited space. There's not a lot of inventory for ads to be shown. It's simply just on top of the search once the search is conducted. And that was it. So now we have custom product pages, which basically facilitates that a little bit better. Now we have, on top of that, CPT-based search tabs, which is showing under the suggested tab, and now we're going to be getting Today tab, and you might also like side. So if you can switch over as well. Here's an example that I do want to talk about. So this was a result that I was able to get with one of my partners back in April of this year. So one of the things that Apple Search has helps you with is, a little bit different than other channels. It helps you grow your ASO efforts and helps you with your ASO efforts quite very greatly. One of the examples that I had here is a fairly unknown publisher. It's a fairly small development studio. They had one game that was completely irrelevant, and they brought up a new game that was based around, pay and earn model. That was the game that they had. They had a couple of different games in there. And once they published it and the game was live, they were ranking for about 200 keywords roughly, right? And by the time that we were starting to help them with the ASO side of things and also provide them with a little bit of assistance on the Apple Search side, mainly utilizing as many broad match keywords and as many search match on keywords. For those who might not know that, there's different keyword types in Apple Search where you can bid for exact matches or you let the system determine which keywords are going to be relevant for you. So from about less than 400 keywords in less than a month and a half, if we can switch over, we were able to grow their keyword pool to 2,400. So this means basically from 200 to 2,100, that's a 12x improvement in less than a month, which I'm pretty much sure for most of you, if you didn't get caught on the World of Train or like anything that was super popular and made like a Flappy Bird kind of copy back in the day or something Squid Game related, you probably didn't see that kind of improvement in 1 month. So this is one of the most strong things about Apple Searches and why it's going to be working and why you shouldn't be taking at face value. When it comes to costs and the kind of revenue that you're going to be able to generate, it's more so reliant on the kind of benefit that you're going to be getting from both sides. Both organically, you'll be growing your app, and plus on top of that, you'll be growing it on the Apple Search side, getting additional downloads and getting additional revenue. So if we can switch over, please. So a little bit more about custom product pages and why you should be utilizing them and why you should be trying them out. So you might say, okay, maybe for hyper-casual games, this is not going to be that very much relevant. But the thing is, it doesn't necessarily need to have a situation where you have a mountain climber app that's based around, different, this is just what Apple is providing as a default image, like bike trails, backcountry trails, and rock climbing, etc. There's not that much variations in hyper-casual games, right? It's a specific game, it's very simple, easy to, master, people can enjoy it quite very easily as well. But the thing that you're basically going to be looking for in hyper-casual games specifically for custom product pages is that the ad groups that you're utilizing, which, where you're going to be utilizing your custom product pages, the keywords that you're utilizing there and the keywords that you're using in that particular group should be reflected with the imagery that you have available. Let's say you have a runner app, right? One of the most popular hyper-casual games that are out there are quite very, there's a lot of runner ads that you're probably seeing. So, okay, great, I have a runner app, but maybe you're looking for a specific spin-off of it. So maybe like, I don't know, anything that could be coming out, like that gun runner thing that you probably saw the ads for a while, or like the Evolution Run recently. The imaging should be matching the message that you're trying to give. If the user, like think it from the user's perspective, if the user is searching for a certain term, saying like best runner game, right? That's a super generic thing, how can you match the messaging? But if they're looking for something like, oh, okay, I want to do something with, I don't know, kitten running, right? So then, even if that's just a character in your game, right, and they can have different variations of animals, etc., you can maybe create custom product pages implying that, okay, yeah, I have kittens in my game as well, right? And you're going to be able to see that in the first images, that the user is going to be seeing, which is going to be improving your overall conversion rates and tap-through rates, as well as decreasing your overall CPAs. So the times that I was able to utilize this with one of my partners, I have never seen a case where it was failing and it was performing worse than the default side. It was always a case that it was improving ever so slightly or significantly better than it was before. We can pass through, thank you very much. Here's an example that I had for the games category side, and indeed it was for a hyper-casual game. One of the things that I was able to, basically improve here, okay, you might say the conversion rate improvement is at 3%, that's not too much. But the thing that we need to note here is that the tap-through rate increased by 61% compared to the previous default product page. So just imagine it from this side. You get the same amount of impressions. You're not changing any bids. You're not changing your budget that you're spending on a daily basis. You still have those specific numbers in place. If you increase the tap-through rate and even keep the conversion rate identical to what it was before, let's say like 55%, you're still going to be getting significant significantly more users simply because of the reason if you get 20,000 impressions and 10% of that convert into taps, and let's say 50% of them convert into users, basically you have that funnel there. If you increase the number of taps and the conversion rate is still 50%, you're going to be getting significantly more installs. What I was able to do, simply by just increasing the tap-through rate, and that was the basic intent for the custom product page here as well. Like I did mention, the search was specifically done, and the imagery, the messaging was set up accordingly to that, so the user would say like, okay, I want to have a go at this game. That was the basic goal of this particular custom product page, and the immediate effect, without changing any kind of bids and amount of daily budgets, we were able to improve the amount of users that they were getting, and the cost per user was decreasing as well. So if we can switch over. A little bit about the search tab side, and a little bit of tactics that you could utilize. Maybe some of you utilized search tab campaigns before in the past. When it was based on CPM or CPT, when it first changed a couple of months ago. But one of the things that you need to note here is that the search tab side is not necessarily where you're targeting intent users like Apple's very much promoting on the search side, right? It's basically someone who clicks on search in the App Store and it's going to be popping up in front of them even if they didn't make any kind of relevant search. And yes, you can go to the ad group level and do specific targeting in terms of selecting a gender, selecting a device, age group, or a specific location even, but that's going to be limited, which I'm going to be showing you in a little bit as well, limiting the kind of outreach that you're going to be able to do. So what happened after the CPM to CPT side? What we're now able to do is that we're only paying for the tap, and we're not paying for 1,000 impressions. So the tactic that I'm using here right now, especially for hyper-casual games, is I'm dedicating a pretty significantly low discovery budget. I'm pulling away from my discovery campaign specifically in this instance. I'm dedicating a very, very small amount of money on a daily budget here, and I have a very low CPT bid. My entire goal here is to make the number of impressions I get as high as possible for the lowest amount of money spent possible. So basically somewhere around like 25 cents of a bid for a CPT, and maybe like 25 to 50 bucks per daily budget, right? So that's something that I'm utilizing, and I'm getting hundreds of thousands of impressions. What happens in the user's mind at that point is that what I was able to notice, all of my other campaigns, performance in terms of tap-through rates and conversion rates, have been increasing once I started to utilize search tab campaigns. Let's think about that for a moment. So why would that be the case? When a users open up the App Store and they go to search, it's not necessarily in their peripheral view what the search tab ad is going to be showing up in. But since the icon is quite very large and you have a certain title in there, they still have it in their semi-peripheral view, and they have an idea of your app. And we do know for a fact that if somebody has a kind of relevancy or something of a familiarity with the product, and this applies for all sectors, they're going to be more likely to utilize and use that product, right? So even if they didn't have the intention to download your app, since they saw it on search tab, they didn't tap on it. They didn't even notice necessarily that you were there. But their brain registered that as, okay, I know this guy. So once they made a similar search, something that you were targeting in Apple search ads, or maybe that you are getting organically rankings for, once they do that search, they're going to be like, oh yeah, I know who these guys are. Like, maybe I should give it a try. So that's the main reason why search tab has been working. What I should suggest you to do not look at this at face value. Don't look at the number of taps you're going to be getting or the number of installs. The main thing that you should be focusing on here is get as many impressions as possible, play around with the bids, play around with the budgets to make the CPM number as low as possible for here. One of the things that is going to be very important for hyper-casual games in particular due to the monetization model usually in the games. So if we can switch over, thank you very much. And the final side. So the new ad placements that are going to be coming out. So the Today tab is one of the areas that we're going to be talking about, and the You Might Also Like side. So the You Might Also Like side is maybe not that very much exciting for all of you, but basically what you're going to be able to do is that, especially in your case, there's a lot of hyper-casual game studios that are creating games that are quite very similar to each other, right? It's just like very similar games with slight artistic differences in certain cases. For that specific reason, the most profitable one, or the one that is most popular, would be an ideal place for you to put your ad in, right? Saying like, okay, if you like this game, you might also like what I made. And that's where you're going to be able to put your particular ads in here as well. Okay? So once you start to utilize that particular area, you're going to be able to see, and here's where it's going to be important, you're going to be able to see how much of a percentage of the users that are utilizing this competitor app of yours is converting over to your app. And if you're going to be able to check your retention statistics after you start to run this campaign, you can then make the assumption, okay, these people are liking this game but not liking mine. If you're seeing a drop in the retention, if you're seeing your retention increasing, you can basically assume these guys are liking my game more than this actually better guy. So it's going to give you very valuable information on that side too. So the Today tab side, something I'm very much excited about. Did any of you ever in your life get featured before by the editorial page? So, any hands? Did you get featured before on the Today tab, the editorial pages? None. It's a great day. You're going to be waking up. You're going to be making a lot of downloads and money. It's a great thing. It's a great feeling. So what Apple is basically providing us here is giving you an area to be able to bid and put an ad on the Today tab where mostly users go in, and this is a default page that opens up when somebody opens up the App Store. So why is this particularly important? It's the first thing, actually it's the second thing technically speaking, because you can see it's on the second placement on the Today tab. It's the second thing that the user sees when they enter the App Store. And we do know that 70% of the downloads are coming from the App Store themselves, right? In terms of the number of downloads that your app is going to be getting. So that means 70% of those potential users that are going to be coming into your particular platform, this is the second thing that they're going to be able to see. You're going to be showing certain creatives here, trying to make your game more appealing as possible, and most likely these are going to be based on CPT pricing model as well. I really don't think they're going to be going back to the CPM model side after they did the change for a search tab. This basically gives you an idea, a pretty large area at that as well, to show and pop up the kind of visuals and pop up the differences that you have, and kind of make the potential user there as excited about your game as possible. Even if they do not click this ad and go into the particular site to download your app, they make a search, not even if you're running Apple search ads for that particular keyword. If you have an organic ranking, they're going to have a familiarity with it similar to the search tab side, even so stronger than the search tab side. So you're going to be able to do that and basically get a significantly higher amount of users from that particular site. So the stuff that I would definitely suggest for the Apple Search site for hyper-casual games specifically is, number one, you should definitely focus on the kind of impact that you're going to be getting to your ASO side and your organic side very greatly, and try to spend as little as possible in terms of CPIs, which is one of the main metrics that your user acquisition people would have for hyper-casual games in this particular case. So you're going to be very much price sensitive. You're going to be targeting ASO side and try to increase your organic performance through Apple Search ads as well. After you do these, you should utilize everything that is available to you to pop out your product more than your competition. As the case is, for the most part, most of the people are not utilizing these fields very effectively. They're quite very new. People don't really know what they're going to be doing for the custom product pages or the search tab side. They just see, okay, I'm not getting that many installs. My tap-through rate is 0.47. My conversion rate is 25%. This is completely bad for me. I'm wasting money here. But the effects on the other campaigns are different. And you're getting brand awareness through the search tab campaign. So this is how you should be treating these pieces of information and trying to master this particular area to increase your visibility and to increase your relevancy to the App Store's algorithm, so you can pop out according to your competition and spend less overall in every other paid channel combined. So yeah, that's basically it. I think that was the last slide, if you could switch over. Oh, there's one more thing. So for the iOS 15 side, this is a little bit of extra information for you to take home. So iOS 15 came out, iOS 16 came out actually, now at this point, it was like last week, I believe. So like I said, you're going to be able to do targeting in Apple Search as like I did mention on the ad group level. But the thing that you need to note here is that the user needs to have opt-in for the personalized ads for their device. And the case is that the opt-out rate is 78%. If you do specific targeting, you need to make your message very clear. You need to know your audience quite very well, because you're only targeting less than 1/4 of the entire potential user base. So if you're going to go with a general kind of strategy here, do not do any kind of targeting, basically, is what this is showing you, right? But once you do that kind of targeting specifically, you can see a slightly increase, higher amount of conversion rates that opted in, etc. That from compared to people just like in general. So you need to match your messaging as something that I'm basically focusing on the most. So yeah, okay, this was it. After this was the last. I think this has to be the last. Yes, it is the last. All right, great. Thank you very much.